Hello and welcome to Eastenders Weekly, the one and only podcast dedicated to Eastenders. This week we're discussing episodes from the 5th to the 9th of February. So if you haven't seen them, you know what to do. So I'm Ben and I'm here with Alex again this week. Hello.
Hello, what a week.
I know.
What a week it's been.
Very eventful. We're up here straight from the episode. So we've just watched Friday's episode, so we're recording straight away. So everything's fresh in our minds this week.
Absolutely. What a remarkable week. It felt like old
Classic.
EastEnders. It did. It felt like a classic EastEnders storyline. It was nice to go all the way through with it.
Yes, it was. It was very good. It was like stepping back in time again.
It really was. It was like an episode from the 90s. And
Well, that's what they wanted with bringing Mel back.
yes,
So.
and later on, which we'll discuss, because there was a very special trailer at the end of tonight's episode as well, the Friday episode. But
Yes, we almost missed it, but
we're jumping ahead of ourselves.
we've got on it. So if we cast our minds back to the beginning of the week, lots of things have gone on since then. So on Monday's episode, it's basically this week is rolling to an end of the Aiden storyline for the sort of winter season of EastEnders. So it's sort of the season final this week, ready for spring. So the main topic of storyline was the heist story ending from Christmas, wasn't it, with Aiden?
Yes, it was for the Aiden and the Mick and Phil and Mel, I suppose, got involved just to wrap it all up and finish it off. And it kind of all started with Mick last week, obviously being threatened by Aiden, saying, you're going to have to pay all the money that he felt he owed.
Yeah.
And so Mick started by almost like a simile of the situation he was in, reading the Three Little Pigs, which is something they did last week. They
with the chess
game.
Bernadette, Keanu and Keegan were playing in the park, weren't
Yes,
they?
with their made-up bottom-esque style chess set. Again, stole straight from the 90s. But and so they seem to be. Well, they've done a 2-week run of starting each episode with some kind of simile or metaphor
Voiceover,
of what's going on with the week, or what's been happening prior and what's going to happen in the week ahead. Again, looking back at what we discussed last week about them kind of looking from the outside in and seeing the situation with new, fresh eyes.
So what was your favourite metaphor? The chess metaphor with Mel, the queen, and the pawns, or the Three Little Pigs? What did you have a preference?
they both had their place. I like Bernadette's metaphor. I liked that she it was like that was more of a voiceover while you saw Mick telling the story and Tina watching over. I did like Mick's line, changing the line slightly to, "I'm going to huff and puff and blow the gaff in." And I thought, yeah, okay. That's
keeping in character.
Keeping in character, that's something Mick would do.
London.
Cockney London.
He's a proper EastEnder.
Really, he is. They cast that well.
So when you heard this sort of Three Little Pigs metaphor at the beginning of the week, obviously forgetting what you already know, what did you think that meant? What did you think was coming up because of this metaphor?
Insinuating straight away that something was going to happen to the Vic, that they were afraid that Aiden wanted to...
the wolf trying to...
Is the wolf trying to make his way into Mick's gaff. And again, I won't go too far ahead, but we later find out Aiden's plan of what he ideally wanted to do, the grand scheme of things, which we found out this evening, the Friday episode, which we'll talk about in more detail a little bit later. But obviously Aiden, we learn that Aiden ultimately sees Mick as the first, almost going back to the chess metaphor, the first move of the chess game of what Aiden ultimately wants to do in the square by the end of...
He wants to take over the square.
He wants to take over... Well,
we've just had this storyline for a year and a half with the Wilmot Browns, haven't we?
Yes, but obviously
a different take on it.
Yeah, obviously I think that the Wilmot Brown storyline got cut quite quickly short, and they perhaps the Aiden got shoehorned in just to kind of complete it.
Do you think it's John Yorke's way of saying, I can do this storyline a bit better and quicker.
Yes, a much more punchier EastEnders soap way. And it was done. It has been done much better. Like I say, what a week we've had, and it's been lovely. It's been very concentrated. It's a very concentrated storyline.
It pretty much happened over
the 4 days of the week. There was no dilation of anything. There was nothing diluted at all, which is perfect when you want to just really sucker punch the audience.
Well, there was one storyline slightly dilated on Friday's episode, but I'll get to that point later.
But there was each day they had like a little side project. Normally just one scene where they kind of just relaxed it a little bit. Friday there was a bit more watered down, perhaps. But yes.
So we obviously had more of E20, didn't we? And the running of things with Mel.
Well, Phil returned. So Phil came back
after
from
his
short break, and the first thing he saw when he got out of the black cab was the neon blue sign of E20.
Yeah, he got the taxi to reverse a bit, didn't he?
He did. I liked that a lot, actually. It's like, oi, go back. And it's a double take.
I wonder what he said to the Uber driver.
It wasn't an Uber driver, it was a black cab. They would never... Could you imagine an Uber driver in the square?
2018, that's what's going to take over the square.
They won't allow that to happen. They won't let that happen. An Uber driver, black cabs, they what do they call it? They take the test.
I don't know.
Oh, it's good.
I'm not a taxi driver. I'm just a fan of EastEnders. So, obviously, do we know where Phil had been? He'd been away visiting Ben, hadn't he?
Well, he went to visit Ben to find out basically if he'd stole the money, because he didn't trust him or not.
I still do wonder how he found Ben, because Ben threw away his mobile phone on the ferry when Mel was watching.
But Phil can find anyone. He's got fingers in millions of pies, hasn't he?
Maybe Ben's spending some time with Uncle Grant in Spain, in Peggy's old villa.
Well, maybe. No, well, Grant went away almost disowning his relationship with Phil, so I doubt that he's gone over to him for that.
They've got a mutual hatred for their dad, Phil.
Well, no, I don't think Ben hates his dad, does he?
He stole money tried to steal money from him and leave without telling anyone, didn't he?
Well, yes, but as we discover, he then had it stole from under his nose as well. But he had a little bit of money.
He did, by one of the little piggies in the metaphor.
Yes, he was trying to stop the wolf from getting in, not successfully.
Because we also had quite another big plot device this week of the box that Aiden was passing around for people to get rid of for him. Because he gave it to Keanu to begin with. And obviously we don't know what's in the box. And then Keanu ends up giving it to Jay to dispose of, doesn't he?
Well, Jay catches Keanu out because Keanu puts it in a coffin, hoping that he was going to bury it away. So at the beginning of the week, we don't really know what's in it or why it's so... why Aiden's so desperate to get rid of what's inside. And Jay catches Aiden doing it. Sorry, not Aiden, Keanu doing it. And so Jay, I think it was last week that happened. And so when Phil returned, Jay gave the box back to Phil as if to say, if Aiden wants to do this kind of, let Aiden do his own dirty work if he wants.
Keep it away from Les and Pam.
Keep it away from Les and Pam.
They're just trying to have a nice retirement in Somerset.
But this is another thing. You see, Aiden doesn't care because his plan is ultimately to take over the square. So he obviously wants his own funeral. But
I mean, obviously at this point, we don't know how important that box is. But I remember you saying this is going to be Aiden's undoing this box.
Yes.
Before. And why did he give this vital box away to Keanu?
Yeah, such an important thing. Again, we later discover so important and something that could incriminate him so quickly. And he's just given this responsibility to Keanu, who, let's be honest, isn't the most reliable of people in the best of times. And he's surely Aiden should know that Keanu is a very honest person, and he would probably, he's guilt-ridden, would eventually get him found out at some point. So yeah, no, that was
very strange.
Aiden was found in this week to be not quite the gangster I think he thought he was. He
thought he was cleverer than he was.
He always said how everyone else seems to be one step ahead of him, and I think that's true. He just didn't really get the game. Really, he was in jail for too long.
I mean, he was getting around a lot this week because we a lot of people saying, "Oh, why is everyone scared of this old man?" But we finally saw Aiden's sort of vicious side this week, didn't we?
Yeah.
With Billy.
Well, he showed it with Billy.
Because he had quite a good scene with Mel, didn't he? A sort of power struggle.
Well, Mick was running around the square with an aim of trying to find something to incriminate Aiden, something because Tina suggested setting a trap, setting some, trying to entrap Aiden. Mick kind of went to people who he thought would be able to help him out, so he went
all the people involved in the heists, basically.
Well, and also Jack, because Jack's obviously an ex-copper, which he likes to remind people of from time to time. And so, in fact, Jack was one of the first people he went to, so he asked, is there any details? Is there anything from his past that we could maybe rip up and see if we can try to find more evidence to get him in trouble for? And again, later on, we find out. Jack said he would have a look. So then he went to Mel. And
Mick went to Mel.
Mick went to Mel, and Jack and Mel at the moment is a moot point. So Mick went to Mel and again wanted some details to help him out as well. And again, Mel said, I don't really have anything I can help you with. Unfortunately, Aiden spotted Mick speaking to Mel, and so paid Mel a little visit, which basically when you first saw quite a vicious side to Aiden.
Yeah, all the men in Wolford seem to be quite scared of Aiden, but when he comes up across these feisty blondes in Wolford, they don't take any of his business.
Well, especially Kathy. Kathy told him to sling his hook on numerous occasions.
Kathy has no reason to even dislike him. She
can smell a bad smell in that square. She's lived there for long enough to know.
I mean, he never did notice her necklace, did he?
No, I think he has noticed it. He noticed it a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "That's a pretty necklace." Wait, that's my Irish. That's a wonderful impression. That's a pretty necklace.
That's a pretty necklace. It is.
Oh, that's a pretty necklace. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
So, do you think Kathy's going to stop wearing that necklace now that Aiden's left?
No, she has no.
Side note. Do you think that's?
She has no purpose not to.
Do you think continuity are going to keep it up?
Well, they might as well. She wears it.
It goes with every outfit.
Apparently so. Well, green stained neck goes with anything nowadays. Green must be seen.
I wonder how much it's worth, because that one ring that Halfway stole was worth like $250,000.
It was worth a pub.
Yeah, so I wonder how much this necklace is. Millions.
I would, again, maybe that's a little slow storyline to come.
Well, maybe that when Kathy decides to leave the soap again, maybe that'll be her leaving storyline. She'll sell it for $5 million and leave.
That's right. Go off to Spain, where the rest of them head off. Yeah, so Aiden obviously visited Mel, and Mel asked Billy to stay. Billy really came into his own this week as well, which I must say. Anyway, and even though Aiden suggested that Billy left, he didn't. So he got a smack in the corner of his eye with a cane.
He did, with a cane.
With a cane. And that really shook Mel up, actually. You saw quite a frightened... Because Mel, when she first got introduced, was seen... Even when she went with Sharon to visit Kira, she was still quite strong. Although she was scared of Kira, she was still strong around Kira. But around Aiden, obviously, there's some power there that she didn't like. And subsequently, she decided to go find Mick and offer him a slight olive branch. Yes, it was a post-it note with a phone number of someone who would be able to help.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dum, dum, dum.
And is that how Monday's sort of ended on, didn't it? With the Mick choosing whether he's going to use that number or not.
Well, I think it ended on him folding it up and putting it in his back pocket. Then... it ended on the Mick's kid being...
Oh, was that on Mondays?
That was Monday. So Mick's young child being doused in petrol, and then finding a petrol can in a box match with the time Thursday 8 p.m.
Yes.
Which I thought was obviously a link to it being broadcast at 8 p.m. but on a Friday. I thought that was weird. So they kind of...
On Thursday it ends at 8 p.m, doesn't it?
That's right.
Is 8 p.m.
As if to then start again Friday as if it's still Thursday. So I thought that was quite a clever continuity by the BBC. Anyway, and so, yeah, it led to him kind of, drolly kind of thinking, what should I do here? And obviously the duff kicked in. So anyway, so we ended on the cliffhanger of what would Mick do with the information that Mel has passed on.
So that was an introduction to quite a interesting guest character, wasn't it, on Tuesday's episode? If we go over to Tuesday's, he's obviously told the family what's happened, that Aiden's done this threat of burning down the Vic and possibly hurting his children. And sort of Shirley's quite up for the idea of getting Aiden killed off, isn't she?
Well, yes, they have a vote. They choose to have, something about someone's voting to decide whether someone should die or not seems to be a very nice.
I mean, I was always wondering, they've had money issues for about 2 years. How much is it to hire a hitman and bump someone off?
I thought that too.
Cheap.
Maybe there's another piece of jewellery hanging around. Kathy's necklace. Yeah. There you go. That's how she links it all in. There must be something. Yeah, but you're quite right. Yeah, something like that's not cheap.
No.
To take one's life.
I mean, didn't Cindy hire someone to off Ian Bill once?
She did. That was in the square.
Did that cost much? I mean, he missed, so...
No, he didn't. He didn't miss.
No, he didn't kill him.
No,
didn't succeed in his job.
He didn't do a great job. No.
Hopefully, Mel's contacts there are a bit better, high quality.
Ultimately, when Linda found out Aiden had done to her baby, she was pretty much, yep, 100%. Let's get him. Let's hire this hitman.
No one comes between a female matriarch in Wolford and her children. So Linda was on the warpath. She wanted him gone, didn't she?
I mean, of all the episodes in the week, this was very much the slowest of the four. Not few things happened in the half an hour. I mean, after the decision being made about the hitman, it kind of then just jumped straight to you finding out that the phone call had been made. They used the pseudonym John Smith, which I thought was, again, a nice little... Because John Smith's a very common name, but it's also a brand of beer. So I thought, clever.
And that was a really funny scene when Mick was waiting at the bar for the hitman to arrive. And there was a man at the bar sort of looking at him.
Yes.
And he thought that Mick ran like a gay bar.
Well, no, he didn't realise this. He was there for business. Again, what business? Anyone's guess. Maybe
cocaine. Maybe he was waiting.
Yeah, I'm waiting for drugs. I didn't know.
All the people waiting for drugs in the Vic were all wearing suits. They were
all businessmen.
Yeah, they were all very highbrow drug addicts. So Aiden's clientele were quite good, actually.
Well, that's as far as drug dealers go, drug takers do. Yeah, so they all come from the West End, come to the East End. There's always something business happening. Patrick would make a mint on his B&B if he just opened up his B&B for real and had, these businessmen that come along to these mysterious business meetings that seem to happen that no one really knows where or when.
Maybe people are applying for Lauren's old job at Wilmot Brown's place of photographer and web designer.
Don't need experience. You just need to turn up. Yeah, maybe.
So, and Mick fancied a roll around in the hay with him, didn't he? He sort of played along with the joke. Yes,
when Mick realised it was a light moment in a very tense situation. When Mick discovered that the guy thought it was a gay bar and that Mick wanted to, he thought Mick wanted to sleep with him. That was good fun.
It was like old Mick Carter rather than the soppy one we were given all last year, just moping around. So,
but again, the character of Mick Carter really took a strong turn this week. It was really, but you learnt that he was Mick is a much stronger character. But again, that's slightly later in the week when you learn that.
Because obviously that wasn't the hitman that they thought it was going to be.
No, it wasn't. And in the meantime, Aiden started speaking to Phil and wanted to know more about what he was doing when he was away, where he was speaking to Ben. And it was to show that the relationship isn't quite as strong as it first perhaps was.
Was this the meeting in the other cafe because he wanted an alibi?
No, that happened yesterday. That happened because of the petrol baby. But today, this was the one on Tuesday's episode. It was Phil's house, because what I should mention is in Monday's episode, Phil had put the box that Jay had given him into his safe, and Sharon kind of from the side spotted that he had done that. And throughout this episode, basically Sharon's role was to get in the safe, which you couldn't.
We're just glad Sharon has a role on this episode.
It's nice to give Sharon something to do.
Yay.
Otherwise, she's just twiddling her thumb. And let's be honest, she's probably quite disappointed because when Phil came back the day before, he bought everyone a present, and Sharon had no duty free, and she was very upset by that. Which, again, later in the week we discover was quite upsetting. So he basically gives Aiden the box back, but not before we discover that inside that box that we've been waiting for 2 weeks to find out what's been inside,
2 whole weeks,
which is a long time, is teeth. There's teeth inside
like
that
3
box.
3 or 4 teeth, wasn't it?
3 or 4 teeth that's obviously been pulled out of one of Aiden's victims. So we now know that that box is quite precious and something that really Aiden very important, and Aiden really shouldn't have given to Keanu to dispose of.
When you saw the teeth, did you guess whose teeth they were correctly?
Obviously, in retrospect, it was obvious, but no, not at the time.
Okay.
I just thought it was a victim's teeth, and I knew that they would be used, which I just like to add, I predicted very early on for Aiden's demise, but I didn't know whose they were at that point. No, but you did. You
My
did.
first guess.
You did. Again, we won't spoil things. If you haven't watched it,
It'll be spoiled in about.
It'll be spoiled in about 25 minutes. But it's a nice twist. It's nice to link things all together. Wraps everything up.
So, what was the sort of side story on this episode? Was it the Billy and Honey were making a bit of amends, weren't they?
That's right.
Because
And
Billy's been hit round the face with the cane
by Aiden in Monday's episode, and so
I was always expecting him to like twist the cane and a sword to come out like on the Avengers.
Oh yeah,
maybe at Christmas.
Maybe. Oh, I'd like that. And he kind of swipes a champagne bottle and goes pop. I love the bit of the Avengers when Emma Peel's in the background. She kind of watches from the side. Sharon could be watching from the side with 2 champagne glasses.
She could
pop that bottle and pop her cork. Anyway, yeah, so Honey was cleaning up Billy from the wound.
She didn't want the kids to see him, did she?
She didn't want the kids to see him, but Billy implored that he really wanted, because he hadn't seen them for a week, and he really wanted, and he's cleaned up his act, even though he told Honey that he'd walked into a lamppost. Again, curiously, Honey works at the Minute Mart, but chose to get her supplies from the Cost Mart. So make of that what you will. I feel that even Honey needs to... Well, she said last week, didn't she, that they really need to up their stock game. And
not the right cards.
Well, not the right cards.
I mean, maybe they're joint
right
company, so she gets a discount at both.
Well,
like Waitrose and
John Lewis, the
Maybe
parent
they're
company,
joint.
Costmart, where they've got a better selection. They have they have antiseptic and everything.
I mean, I'm quite amazed of how well Honey's taking this breakup. So I thought that when they first broke up, she was manically cutting up photos of them both. And I thought, oh, are they going to go down like a mentally unhinged Honey storyline here? But she seems to be coping perfectly fine without.
Could be the quiet before the storm. Perhaps there's something. I hope they don't turn Honey mad. I wouldn't like that.
I mean, I'd like them to give her some decent stuff to do, because she's a really good actress.
She's a great actress.
She's never really given much to sink her teeth into.
Problem with Honey is that the character's a little bit one-dimensional. Which is that she's a bit airheady, but she's a good mum and she's a good wife, and she works hard and she makes sure there's enough for everyone in her family who she loves. And she's very strong, There's lots of strong female characters in EastEnders, and Honey's just another one. But because there's nothing more to her than that kind of one-dimensional character for her. So maybe giving her this slightly unhinged character might be interesting. I suppose they did it with Stacey on one or two occasions. Exactly. Well, so we'll see. But
they're bringing back Jean Slater, Stacey's mum, not Jean Slater, but I can't remember her surname, Jean. And her and Honey are quite similar as characters. They're both sort of just that nice one-dimensional. So with them both back on the show, one of them's got to have something meaty to do. I
mean, when Billy last made Honey upset and sad, Honey left, but that was quite immediate. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they'll make Jean and Honey another kind of duo. Maybe there'll be, or maybe Jean will spot something in Honey, because Jean was the first one to spot Stacey's mental health. Absolutely. So perhaps again they're going to maybe do that with Jean spotting it in Honey. But Honey has simmered down a little bit, so perhaps it was just a reaction, knee-jerk reaction of what had happened immediately. So we'll wait and see. But Billy did eventually get to see Janet, at least, but Janet didn't really want to see Billy. Janet was a bit upset by
his face. Aren't we all?
I was going to say, that face.
We all feel you, Janet.
Yeah, I know. Poor Janet.
So the other scenes towards the end were the hitman sort of talking to Mick about whether he's sure that he wanted to go ahead. Now, this was written quite surprisingly well, wasn't it? He was like a really nice hitman.
Yeah, he was. He was the local friendly hitman. His introduction was very gentle. Actually, it wasn't just like him storming in and Mick kind of spotting him, and the classic EastEnders new bit part coming into the character, into the Vic kind of idea. It was done really well. In fact, he was only introduced when Mick walked up to him and said, "Would you like another pint?" And he said, "Oh yes, please. Thanks, John." And Mick's slow reaction turned as he turned around and realised. Again, whenever something important, this week, whenever something important is happening, the pub seems to just naturally clear out.
Yes.
Which is nice.
It's like in the olden days when they used to, someone made a big announcement in the Vic or slapped someone and all the music would stop suddenly.
Yes.
It was like them, isn't it? It's
exactly
like their new trick.
The last time they
slightly close zoomed in shot.
The last time they did that was when Princess Di did a great big poo in the floor, and they were like, "We're not staying here," and they all stormed out the pub. So to liken Hitman and Aiden to a dog doing a poo on the floor,
you've come a long way.
It's a huge step, leaps and bounds.
We're on the up.
We're on the up.
So the casting of the Hitman was quite interesting, wasn't it?
It was. Well,
It wasn't the regular casting.
It's slightly surprising because it's played by the actor or comedian Kevin Eldon, who's quite well known for his comedy sketch shows, and more recently he's actually played a character in Game of Thrones, but he's more known for his comedy. He's done like Brass Eye and Big Train, and they're quite dark comedies as well. But he does characters very well. He does.
Well, it was quite a dark comedy moment, wasn't it?
It really was. It was because he was
making light of murdering.
Well, yeah, but he was one of those characters. He obviously was a very deep and very dark character, but at the same time he was a very friendly character. Like if you saw him in the street, he'd probably just be like hello, and you'd be like hi. So he was almost the exact opposite of what you expected a hitman to be. Yeah, and again, that was nice that they did that. It was nice that they did something a bit different.
Because he even mentioned something along the lines of, "I've been doing this such a long time, I won't charge," or "I won't charge much." Or
yes, which kind of explained how he's going to, because he said originally that he did it for the money. He needed the money, but now he's so used to it, he doesn't really need the money quite so badly. He almost does it for fun, which again is a really kind of dark and sick, twisted person, but at the same time he does it in such a pleasant, genuine, kind of amicable way. Like he's an amiable man. He's someone you'd probably would happily sit and have a pint with, and then if he didn't tell you he was a hitman, I'd love a spin-off of him.
Yeah, BBC Three spin-off.
That'd be a really lovely
Wolford
spin-off.
Hitman.
The Wolford Hitman coming soon.
We copyright that, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's our idea, BBC. So don't be stealing that. But so they have a nice conversation, don't they? They have a good chat or talk about whether Mick is sure.
Because he sort of said, I can tell that you're not the type of person that's going to be able to live with something like this. And he eventually sort of talks him out of.
Well, he didn't talk him out of it. He just said, again, in a very calm and collective way, if you want me to do it, I'll do it. But just be sure, just remember, just know that this is something that you'll never forget. This is something that you'll know that will be with you for the rest of your life.
And I've got Linda crying around the corner, and she sort of said no.
She's great, Mick. Though. I really like. I'm so glad that Linda and Mick are actually interesting characters again.
I know. It was last year. They were just so dull.
Yeah.
They were just. Mick was turned into a big drip, didn't he? The whole year.
They both just plodded along with one story after the next, and Linda kind of left, and they fell out of love, and it's just.
It just didn't make sense. The fact that I know that she left because of maternity leave and she was pregnant in real life, but the storyline of her lying that her mum was ill, and it just didn't make any sense.
None at all. Because
luckily we're past that.
Yeah, because I know that there's been secrets throughout. It's EastEnders. It's any soap. There's going to be secrets between characters. But that was another thing. Even though Mick had this phone number, he was open. He was honest with Linda about it. When they were making the decision of whether to call him, they were open. They were honest with one another about it. It was nice that it was played that way. And so, as you say, Linda got upset. and basically said, no, I don't want you to go ahead with
We're just going to
the
have to
kill.
leave.
But luckily, we found out that Vincent was in to help with Mick's makeshift mob.
Oh yeah, because you saw a knock on the door, didn't you?
Right at the end, and Aiden was watching on from the park.
So you weren't really sure if Vincent was really having Mick's back, or if Aiden had put him up to this.
Exactly, and that was the duff, whether it was Vincent being played by Aiden or Vincent being genuine with Mick. So that was the quiet day. That was the quietest of the days.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
And the next two episodes were pretty much could have just been like a hour special, couldn't they? Because they're basically one after the other non-stop. So on Thursday, the Aiden and Mick storyline was continuing, wasn't it?
Yes, well, this is when it kind of became about three people, and that was Mick, Phil and Aiden. So this is when it was starting to really consolidate itself. Now they were storming straight ahead. As you say, Thursday and Friday's episode can and could quite easily be consolidated as if it was one episode. And as we said earlier, I think the way it was written, or the writers knew this, and that's why they said that it was going to be Thursday at 8 p.m. to link that it was Thursday and 8 p.m. on Friday. So we basically started off with throwing straight back to the beginning of the week when Mick was asking Jack for information that he could hand out to Mick about Aiden. And unfortunately, as Jack said, it wasn't his patch. Jack, it wasn't his patch.
Why does Jack have to get involved?
I know, he's such a nosy Parker. He wasn't his patch, but he asked a few people who was on the patch, and unfortunately, the patch didn't work
no
out.
one's patch.
So no one knows what's
Why
going
doesn't
on.
Jack concentrate on seeing what Max is up to, seeing what Abbie's baby's up to, and leave Mick alone? Questions we will find out.
Well, absolutely.
In a few weeks.
Absolutely. What has happened to baby Abbie?
Baby Abbie.
Oh. He's not on his patch.
Surely Max hasn't got baby Abbie. Surely Tanya and Lauren didn't both leave and leave Max with her.
Well, no, isn't baby Abbie still
will
at the
tell.
hospital? The special teleporter.
Yes, but she can't be there forever.
Well, she
Tanya's
can't be.
gone.
The incubator.
Lauren's gone.
Baby Abbie. They might release that at Christmas as a toy.
Christmas card. They can supply them in the Minute Mart.
Yeah. But word's gotten out that Aiden is coming, and so basically,
is this the one where everyone all of a sudden knows of Aiden, isn't it?
Basically, it
Word
starts
got
off
around very quickly.
He's a popular chap. Word's gotten around, and so basically, no one is patronising the Queen Vic. No one wants to go in. No one wants anything to do with it. So again, it's nice that the Vic is nice and quiet, ready for the showdown.
Yes, because the Carters have now decided to leave. They've packed all their bags. They're all getting in taxis and trains.
Well, Mick was going to stay. Mick was going to stay and fight it out. I think Shirley had ideals of grandeur by having
with her
taser.
new toy.
New toy.
A taser.
That she tried to sneakily hide in her pocket, and Mick was like, "Put that down. Put that down." But I think the rest of them, Linda and Tina were going to shoot off and leave, and leave it to them to kind of sort out. Because just when Linda is about to leave, her last word, or the first time they're about to leave, her last words to Shirley is, if it gets too mad or bad, just drag him out of the pile. Which I just had this image of like a cartoon when you just see this bubble, this like smoke in the air, and you just see a fist kind of punching out and feet coming out here and there, and you just see Shirley coming in and dragging out Mick out of the dust pile. But
we had quite a good scene this episode with Shirley going over to talk to Phil.
Well, we did, yes, because Phil. Well, prior to this, we need to talk about how Phil gets to meeting with Shirley, and that is that. Basically, we find out that Louise's phone has been broken. He thinks Louise tells him that Keegan was responsible for it, so he goes off on a one-man mission to find Keegan to get him to pay for Louise's phone. And on on his first stop, he overhears Mel talking to one of Kira's henchmen, one of his, I presume, Russian henchmen.
Polish.
Was it Polish?
He was one from the heist. He was driving with Halfway in the van, I think.
Oh right, so he was one of them. He was in the front cab, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and the henchman says to her, that she's done a good job. Well done, you've done a good job. And that kind of gets Phil's back up immediately, and kind of turns the corner and says, "What do you mean? What exactly do you mean you've done a good job?" Mel finally reveals to Phil that that
she should be thanking.
He should be thanking her, and he's starting to put two and two together and making Sharon.
Can I just say, during all of Phil's scenes with Louise following him were hilarious because she's just sort of standing in the back. It's like a daddy-daughter day, like come to work with me day for gangsters, and Louise just doesn't care. She's finding out all this information. She's just like, "Can I go home now?
Yeah, can I
get
go
a new
home?"
phone?
She'd rather do her homework. She'd rather do her homework
than talk about murders.
Then try to find out exactly whether she should be concerned that there's this murder or fight about to happen in her home at her home. The Phil is also stopped then later by the Polish henchman, and he then says to him, plants a little seed that he shouldn't trust Aiden, and that he's probably been played by him. So it's kind of building up now. It's kind of getting up to this,
because we sort of learn that Phil and Aiden, obviously they were roomies together in jail, and it's sort of this like unspoken rule, isn't it, that if they had this quite a big bond and friendship there, so no matter what one of them has done, even if they don't agree with it completely, you
support one
each
another.
other.
That's right. That's right. You look after one another. So again, first of all, after Phil made a phone call to Sharon, basically saying
a message.
Yeah, left a message on her phone saying that he wants to talk to her about Mel and Kira. He then decides to have a nice little nap.
I know. Like Sharon comes back with like bags of shopping again.
Another shopping trip for Sharon.
And a new haircut.
Oh yes.
She's gone shorter again with a little bit of tonguing. And
she likes to be tongued.
And she hears the message in the kitchen and looks all worried, and her eyes
her
are darting.
crazy eyes are darting.
And she goes in to speak to Phil, and he's just there asleep on his sofa.
Yeah. So she then goes out to presumably the Minute Mart and gets herself quite a 35 centilitre, would you say, bottle of vodka?
You think, or a miniature bottle of wine? Not sure.
You weren't sure.
Maybe both.
It could be mixed in together. I'm hoping it's the wine, because my goodness, she downed that vodka, and she didn't even touch the sides.
I know, poor Sharon. She can't even get a drink in her own house anymore.
I know. Selfish Phil, being an alcoholic and getting a new liver. What a git. So anyway, in this meantime, Shirley has now visited Phil. Phil woke up.
Yes, we finally have a Shirley and Phil scene.
Yes, which is lovely. Absolutely, we haven't seen that for a while, and it was a nice, feisty, fiery scene, which you're so used to having with Phil and Shirley as well. So it was good. It was nice to see it, and it was really
quite funny as well. Some of the lines to Louise.
Yeah, so you might want to put your headphones on, and then she just screams at Phil. It's fantastic. The word she uses, I had to write some of these down. She wanted the old Phil back, that he was spineless, and what I thought, which was a fantastic line, was that the new liver was wasted on him. That's just
That's
cutting,
what we were all
isn't
saying
it?
that back when that storyline was going on. We were all saying, "Oh, just die now."
Yeah, when he was yellow and jaundicing.
Yeah.
but that was meant with venom. That was basically meant that you are better off dead than you are trying to help anyone else on this
she
square.
was doing it because she knew that would she thought it would
stoke up his
kick
fire.
him into it,
but that was a Shirley line. That was just so perfectly pitched. So brilliant, absolutely great. Like I say, this is such a good week. I'm so excited because we had such a great week. But Phil then again, another a good Phil line in return. He basically said, I told him to go, and you should do as I say and not as I do. So I would fight. If it was me, I'd fight. But you're not me, so you should go. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So again, good writing and fantastically put. In the meantime, Sharon stumbles in through the back door after her we don't know what drink alcoholic binge, and basically admits to Phil that she stole the money.
But it's very strange because she said, "I did it for you." Like a few weeks ago when she admitted it to Mel, she said, "I took it right under his nose."
Yeah, exactly. Really cocky.
What is going on, Sharon?
It's like, I'm a strong, independent woman. I do it for myself.
That's what Sharon used to be, this strong, independent, amazing woman.
She's become a bit...
And now she's like tonight's episode, what we'll talk about in a minute, she's basically practically begging to come into the house and take her coat off.
Oh yeah, she asked permission to take her coat off.
Ridiculous.
That was mad. But one last quick thing I'd like to talk about, again, it's Shirley related, is that she makes a link to something that Aunt Babe said when she left the show. When she was stood outside in the pouring rain, Aunt Babe said, "I curse this place."
Yes, and that curse is...
And that curse is still... And Shirley says, basically, "Oh, sometimes I feel like this place has been cursed." Nice, lovely, nice reference back to Aunt Babe.
Yeah.
Bring back Aunt Babe. Hashtag bring back Aunt Babe.
Yes.
Absolutely, we need her back. But so something which is relatable to what came on tonight's episode is obviously Tiff and Half Job.
So when you saw this first, you thought, oh, it's just a nice little scene to separate these storylines, but ridiculous.
But it became quite integral into tonight's story.
That's what I mean.
It surprised me. I felt like it was shoehorned, but it didn't feel shoehorned. So I don't know. But anyway, she attempted all day on Thursday's episode, to chat to Half Job and extend the warning that Mick gave to Half Job to basically stay away and just don't talk about the ring. And he couldn't concentrate because someone found a pack of biscuits and chaos had ensued at the army camp. Yes. Because biscuits.
That's what they do at the army.
Absolutely. Because Half Job. So there you go. So anyway.
Although Half Job had a haircut, obviously going and tell me maybe he had to.
Same haircut.
But he looked
same
a bit
style.
more on trend. He looked very
just
nice.
Shorter. He
must have done himself up for Whitney.
He wasn't wearing his tea cozy hat. That's what it was. And his
Whitney
ears poking
had
out.
turned into a teenage girl all of a sudden. She was like on the sofa with her laptop, not knowing how to put makeup on all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, and popping blackheads off her cheeks.
I mean, when she came back with Woody Woodwood. She came back and she had all this new outfit and new hair and she was all glammed up. Now
she started stealing.
Now she's getting her 15-year-old daughter to put makeup on for sister to put makeup on for her. So
well, on trend. Hashtag on trend. So that leads us very neatly to basically Mick decides that they should all leave because Vincent drops out from the posse, Billy drops out from the posse. They're all too scared of Aiden because Aiden's been basically giving them all threats that if they should get involved. To his children and so on, and obviously Billy getting hit in the face.
And they really stepped up Aiden's evilness by making him threat.
Oh, they turned it up to 11, didn't they? Children, women.
Just in time for his exit.
Absolutely. It was. That's another thing I was going to say quickly. It was International Women's Day on Thursday, and they celebrated it by Sharon getting punch drunk. And
Shirley was doing it for the women.
And Shirley was. She was empowering them all. So
not Whitney.
Not Whitney. No.
Her webcam chat.
She's tarting herself up ready for a bit of a webcam.
So she had to reschedule her chat with Halfway for just gone 8 o'clock, I assume. About 8:15?
Yeah.
In Wolford.
Good timing. But Mick came back, so they were all going to leave. Mick and Linda did one last dance at the Queen Vic, which again, there was another nice moment. Linda said, "What should we dance to?" And Mick said, "What every queen needs." And so he put on "Your Love Is King," which was by Sade, which was clever, nice, little nod. And then kind of left to go to the tube station. Mick patted his, I forgot my wallet. What a fool I am. What a
Mick.
Yeah. Oh, Mick. And so he went back to the pub because he just couldn't give up without a fight. So he had to go back. Not that they needed to do it, but you saw him kind of taking his wallet out and then putting it in his back pocket as if to say, he was lying. We knew he was lying. There was no need to really show us there. That was a bit silly, but still, he went back to the
believe
pub.
in their writing, don't they?
They do. They need more belief.
Now more than ever.
Exactly. Well, yeah, because like I said, there's been so many lovely, strong moments this week. Again, another good shot. They went from the tube all the way to the pub in one shot.
Danny Dyer's best acting face.
Danny Dyer, grimacing all the way, hunched up, doing his kind of Vince McMahon.
Unlocked all the doors, got his whiskey ready,
cracked it open, cracked his knuckles, and 10 to 8, and he sat there as the duff kicked in. So then it led neatly to tonight's episode, Friday's episode, which was the end of it all. This was it. This was the big build-up. So, obviously, needless to say, fashionably late, as he put it.
So before this started, I want to know what your expectations were. What do you think was going to happen on this episode?
Well, we both
Because
talked.
I've been talking about this for a long time.
You really have.
I was
Since the beginning
expecting
of the
a
podcast.
big whodunit sort of thing, and for Aiden to be murdered somehow. I mean, were you going in expecting the same sort of thing, or?
Yes. Well, before last week, when you told me that this wasn't something that you'd read, this is something that we theorised. I genuinely thought that was actually what was happening. I thought they were going to do a nice Aiden who done it murder storyline. I mean, without talking about the episode, it's not out of the realms of possibility of it still happening.
No,
but yeah, I actually didn't think they were going to end Aiden's storyline tonight. I thought they were just going to put it on the shelf and amp it out. Yeah, I thought that Aiden was going to stay and, yeah, as you say, amp it up a bit more, leading to your theory of this whodunit storyline. I mean, I wasn't disappointed.
it's technically the series final of Eastenders. That's the quarter, that's the winter.
Yes,
set a storyline.
The winter-autumn storyline.
So normally it's obviously the big episode. That's why it's been such a big week. So what actually did occur then is Aiden came into the Vic just gone 8, didn't he?
Yeah, fashionably late.
Mick thought, he's not turning up. I'll put my whiskey away and go to bed.
Yeah. Oh well.
Sleep well tonight.
Yeah, I'll sleep like Phil tonight.
And Aiden turned up with sort of 3 or 4 henchmen behind him.
A sensible number of henchmen, some might say. Again, we'll lead to that.
Checking
later.
out, smashing bottles, making sure no one's in the Vic.
Yeah.
And he took Mick's word for it and then shooed him off.
I don't know what smashing a bottle would make. I suppose it might make someone jump and
them.
scare out. Yeah, I suppose so. So Aiden took his word for it. Mick poured a couple of drinks and they started talking it out. Or as Aiden put it, they started dancing. He wanted to start the dance.
The last dance.
So
to the Irish jig.
Yeah.
And Aiden actually did dance with his cane, which I thought was a little bit corny. He actually started dancing around with his cane and talking Mick through what the conversation would go through.
Yes. When he was it was almost like he was looking, because at the top of his cane he's got like a crystal or a reflective material of some sort. It was almost like he was looking at Mick as he was talking to him. At one point I thought they were going to film from the perspective of the top of his cane. It was a strange moment. A little part of me wanted them to put on like a Bewitched song. Not to say, just to lighten the mood. But
no time for laughs.
No, there was no time. Well, there was time for laughs because Masood.
When I
ruined
saw
everything.
Masood appear, I thought, why?
I know, why did they?
He's not even been in it all week, or if he has, I haven't noticed it. But it was just such a pointless.
It was obviously
thing.
there just to lighten it a little bit, just to lighten the air a touch.
Yeah,
but basically, I'm going to sum it up in one quick paragraph. Masood mistakenly thought it was his aunt's birthday, went out to find a birthday card. He went to the Minute Mart thinking that knocking the door would open.
Honey, are you in?
Honey,
does Honey now live in the shop?
Can you open up the shop just so I can buy a £1 card, please?
That's ridiculous.
Then he tried the Queen Vic.
Didn't get the hint that there was all these men outside
telling him
and all
3
the lights
times.
were off.
He said he was a good Muslim. I don't drink. I just need a birthday card. Anyway, he got thrown in. Mick was like, just go away, Masood. So Masood did. And then Masood went to... I suppose it was also a vehicle in order to move things along with Phil and Sharon. He revealed to Phil, he said, what's Mick up to? Oh, he's gone away for a few weeks. Oh, no, he hasn't. He's in the pub. Oh. And so then Masood basically got home with a birthday card with a train on it saying happy birthday, and then he found out that it wasn't a birthday card, it was a Mother's Day card. Ha, ha, ha.
And that's Masood's story.
And that was Masood's story.
So let's carry on. I don't know why it was there. So Mick and Aiden are having a little bit of a showdown. Aiden sort of punches Mick and wants him to fight back, doesn't he?
He does. He wants a fair fight, I guess. And he wants him to fight back, or he wants him to allow him to carry on selling drugs. This is when Whitney comes in and basically with the laptop says, "What's your Wi-Fi code? I have Half Job ready to talk to you."
I know, because she was talking to Half Job and saying, she obviously off screen told Halfway that Mick's in trouble. And then there's this sort of long scene with Mick and Aiden discussing things. It's all very serious. Then all of a sudden, Whitney appears from the back of the Vic, How did she get past Aiden's goons when...
Which we later discover there's more than
Hundreds.
4 goons. It was like ninjas.
And she just appears with her laptop in her hands. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, for God's sake.
I know.
It's so close to being a really, really, really good episode. And then things like that, it's like, oh.
Just kind of sour it a little bit.
So she bought and we joked, oh, she's going to ask what the Wi-Fi code is. And she actually did need to know the Wi-Fi code. She'd been living there for 2 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to change your password constantly. Anyone could hack into your...
You could. Anyone could sell drugs in a toilet.
Absolutely. Lesson learned.
So obviously Halfway admitted the money came from him in the ring. And Aiden just said, well, that's nice. And then closed the laptop. And then that was that.
Well, you've discovered then that Aiden basically didn't really give 2 hoots about pub. He wants the square. He wants to take over the square. He sees everyone as a cash cow. This tiny little community is a cash cow. And he wanted basically the old 1950s, 60s mob, mentality of yore, when it used to happen in London and East End quite often. So they're kind of doing that storyline because he needs a retirement plan. Everyone needs a retirement plan. You can't rely on the state pension nowadays.
Well, Frank Butcher had a better one. He went out to Spain and got all those dodgy holiday places, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Come on,
Think
Aiden.
like Frank. Yeah, exactly. Come on, Aiden. What? Just go to Spain. That's everyone's solution, everything. So, yeah, so that kind of soured it a little bit. And then as Aiden is beating Mick, and Mick kind of is refusing to fight back, he lifts up his cane and then Super Jack comes flying in. Again, obviously they found a secret exit that no one else, or entrance that no one else knew about. And but it wasn't just Jack. It was Jack, it was Billy, it was Ted. Don't know what Ted was. Ted must have been sniffing
Ted and
around.
Vincent saw Mick outside a few episodes ago, but why was Ted in there?
Well, you did give him that advice. That
Joyce. Fight. Joyce must never see him.
Well, Joyce is at home cooking.
He spends all day playing chess and then all night fighting Aiden.
She must just like the peace, to be honest with you. Yeah. I'd rather.
I would too.
But
so
yes,
who else was there? Linda was there.
Linda was
Shirley.
There. Shirley came in. So like
Tina wasn't there, was she? I don't think.
Well, no, Tina. Oh yeah, Tina went with Shirley. Oh, someone has to look after the baby.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they all come in, and basically Aiden puts petrol on the bar, lights a match, and says, "You'd better damn well say sorry, son, or else I am lighting this place." And Linda's like, "No!" And so Mick begrudgingly shouts, "I'm sorry!" And as far as we're concerned, yep, job done, hands cleaned, let's go. Off he goes. So his mob of, I don't know how he hired all those men. He's got no, Aiden must have money, because he hired 30, 40?
They all came trundling in.
Yeah, they did, like an army of...
Like Star Wars.
Yeah, it was like stormtroopers just coming. Darth Vader. And as he walks out the door, he gets thrown back through the door.
Like Star Wars.
Like Star Wars.
Of it. He was sort of pushed by the Force.
And our Luke Skywalker, also known as Phil Mitchell, and Princess Leia, also known as Sharon, comes storming in through the door and basically is like, right, you think I'm a mug? You've gone too far. Sharon mentioned to Phil earlier, he's doing all this and he's not even offering you a cut, which I thought was a bit...
Sharon's a businesswoman. She's on it.
She is. Get E20 open. She needs a bit of money. Tan up, and her skirt.
I know, it was like half lace.
It really was. It was like she got like a neck curtain and kind of just sewn it into like a really short miniskirt.
She's got to show off those pins. They're very shiny as well on the sofa.
Anyway, she keeps her knees together just to keep her modesty. And so Phil's like, I've got these teeth, which we knew was going to be his undoing. Stupid Aiden. I've got the teeth, and I won't go to the police because I'm not a grass. But I know a certain Vincent who is.
That's what you mean.
I know it was, wasn't it?
Vincent hasn't grassed in ages.
And plus, what's more, Vincent was like, he didn't even come to the pub at all.
No,
like that whole evening.
Maybe he was outside stopping the goons.
One by one.
Phil pushed through them, obviously.
Do you reckon he put on his Jamaican accent as he was doing it?
Oh, when he's angry.
Yeah, his angry Jamaican accent. And long story short, it was a bit of an anticlimax, let's be honest. Long story short was that he basically said, I'm keeping these teeth, and if you come around these parts again, I'm going
quickly, whose teeth were they?
Oh, yes. So, as we said earlier, they were quite important because we found out that they were
Luke's teeth.
Luke.
Which was Wilmot Brown, Ben's ex.
Yes.
So Phil asked Aiden to rough him up a bit.
But not kill him. So again, Phil's...
So we know that he's dead.
Yeah, Phil's not got blood on his hands. He didn't ask him to do that. But yeah, we found out that he was dead, which I thought was a bit of a shame. I kind of would like some of the Wilmot Browns to come back in. Anyway, so
that's that wrapped up because everyone kept moaning, "Where's Luke? Where's Luke?"
Well, now
we know.
But, and it was nice to use it in the kind of Aiden storyline. And so Aiden left, basically. Another thing, there was lots of cars and lots of goons, and they all kind of drove off and just left Aiden on his own.
Aiden just got the tube home to his lonely one-bed apartment.
I know, with Derek.
I mean, I'm assuming that's the end of Aiden.
For now.
Aiden, Joseph, Patrick, Maguire.
I know.
I mean, obviously, there's opportunity for him to come back. Do you think he's going to come back and there's going to be a last hurrah?
Yeah, I think he will come back. I think he will come back, and I wouldn't.
They need to kill him.
They do really. They need to draw a definitive line underneath him. I think he'll be back. I think he's got the potential for a Christmas
story.
I think there's Christmas potential stamped all over it. So we'll wait and see.
We will.
But it ended nicely, didn't it? Them all having a bit of a merry...
Yeah.
They popped
open.
open.
Phil was back.
Old Phil was back drinking his orange juice. All they drink is orange juice in that house. They must have sugar levels that are just through the roof.
What would Ian do?
What WWID? Exactly. Yeah, Phil basically said, not bad for someone who's popping orange and white pills.
Orange and white. That well-known pill.
Well-known pill, yeah.
So, and that was basically the end of
it ended
the
on
Christmas
a duff
storyline.
Yeah, and then it ended on a duff with Phil just sitting there mulling his life
happy
over with a nice orange juice while everyone else was drinking champagne in the background.
Well, obviously, Steve McFadden's happy now. He's happy that Phil's been written well again. Because he was noticeably absent with Sean O'Connor.
Yeah, again, Phil was just kind of turned into a kind of like a grey or yellow character. And I
think Sean O'Connor's sort of plan was turning him into sort of an old godfather sort of figure, wasn't he? Slowly,
but that doesn't suit
no one
Phil.
wants it.
Phil doesn't like growing up. It's not his.
So after the episode ended, there was obviously the spring trailer.
The spring trailer for what's coming up ahead. And obviously it was very strong Slater related.
It's a really odd trailer for EastEnders, actually. It was more funny.
Well, and also they normally tend to film, when there's a trailer for like the next kick, the next push for what's happening on the soap, they normally film specially for it. So they film like them on the square, walking down towards the square, or
like
something like
slow motion and filters and graphics.
When Ronnie and Roxy was
hurricanes,
yeah. When Ronnie and Roxy was introduced, they did that big party in the bar, and they were slamming drinks. And for this, they just kind of cut together. It was a very cheap promo. They just kind of cut together scenes of what's about to happen.
I mean, it looks bizarre. It's obviously Big Mo's back next week, and she's obviously announcing that Kat's dead by the looks of it.
Well, which we discussed last week.
Yeah, everyone's dressed up as Kat,
but they're having
a funeral.
Not for her funeral. They're raising money to pay for the funeral because they can't afford it.
Even though Kat's a millionaire.
Well, as far as we know.
Well, last time we saw her.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it just looks bizarre.
But when
they're all in leopard print.
They're all in leopard print, and then you see in the taxi cab someone putting their lippy on. I wonder who that is.
I wonder.
And then when they showed the card at the end with the BBC One logo and saying EastEnders this spring, it was instead of the traditional red background that BBC One have, it was a leopard print background, and it was done like it was like a kind of like a silk curtain. So that was interesting. I mean, they're obviously hedging their bets with the Slaters coming back. They're hoping this is going to be a nice boost into.
I mean, obviously Jean and Big Mo are back first, but I mean, I don't know why they're doing a storyline of pretending that Kat's dead when everyone knows
that she's not.
She's back.
But then it might be interesting to see how other characters react. So we know something that they don't know, which is again what most soaps do. We know something that the characters we're watching don't know. So it might be interesting to see the reaction in that respect.
I mean, just breaking news.
Oh, right.
Alfie has just confirmed that he's coming back.
Shane Ritchie.
Yeah, he said he's just confirmed it.
Oh, no.
So he didn't die on his brain operation on Redwater. He's alive. So
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know.
I do wish Shane Ritchie would try something new. Anyway, that's for further discussion.
It
I
is.
feel.
I mean, that's we'll be discussing the Slaters next week.
Look at
I
that
assume.
breaking news as we're doing
I
the
know.
podcast. That's mad.
When it's out for everyone to listen to, it won't be breaking news, but just in case you missed it, there it was.
We have to do this live from now on. So I guess, yeah, so that's the week that was. It's, like I say, it was a phenomenal week, really, in the grand scheme of what's been happening in the last 6 months. It's been nice to have a powerful, compact
It was a much better
week.
ending to the heist storyline than it was the beginning. because
Absolutely.
That heist episode was left much to be desired.
Oh, it was like watching a Carry On movie.
was.
It was just awful, just awful.
But yeah.
But we're always interested in your opinions and what you'd like to talk to us about, and let us know what you think.
Yes, you can. You can email us at eastendersweekly@gmail.com or send us a tweet at Eastenders Week. We'd be happy to know any conversations or topics you want to talk about.
Absolutely. Just give us ideas. We'd love to talk about anything you'd be interested in hearing about. If you search Facebook groups for Eastenders Weekly, and you can start the debate on there. And we'll, if there's, any interesting topics, we can open up and discuss also on the podcast. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, maybe next week, instead of I'm doing this now, you could do I've been doing this and tell us what Kat and Alfie, Big Mo and Jean have been up to.
Love it. That's a deal breaker.
Stay
I shall do it.
tuned.
Stay tuned for that. I've been doing this now. Anyway, have a lovely
Yes.
week.
We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.